So hello again. I'm back here to talk about American domestic politics, but I just want to say, isn't it obvious? Like what we're learning right now, and this is what I've said before: the silver lining in the curse that we're dealing with right now is we're learning what we want out of our government and what we don't want out of our government, and we're all unifying behind one common ground. We're unified in class solidarity now. We're seeing the problem in our government now. All right. The light is revealing what's already existed, but it's also revealing who we put in power matters and how they use those existing systems. Some will exacerbate the problems by misusing them and abusing them, which is what we're seeing right now with the current leadership in the White House. They're abusing those systems. They're using those systems to hurt us as citizens. All right. So it does matter who we vote for, it turns out. And the thing that we need to understand is there is a difference between the two parties. We're learning that real quickly, aren't we? Because despite how flawed the Democrats may be, and they are, I'm not telling you Democrats aren't flawed because I'm a registered Democrat. I have my problems with the Democratic Party too, which is why I participate in primaries and why I vote and why I speak out. Because I make my voice valuable in the party. That's why I participate. I participate in this experiment that we've taken for granted called democracy, because it does matter. Now, I understand people are disenchanted. We effectively turn into consumer robots. We tune out the world. We choose to believe we want to believe, and we just become a consumer bot who behaves and obeys the system. Because that's what they want. Subservience. All right. And we're all guilty of this because we're all chained to this system. All right. But just know your voice has value. Your fight has value. Don't ever let these elites tell you you have no power. Don't let them. This is why we got the power of the purse. And what I mean by that is we got our phones, we got our cameras, we got social media. People will listen to what we have to say. Use it to your advantage. Speak up. Speak out. Get involved in your local politics. Go vote in primaries and elections. And they say it starts at local, which is true. It starts at the local level. If you feel like you have no control over the federal level, then focus on local elections. That's your best direct form of power. But I would even say still get involved in federal politics, even if you think it's not going to. Focus most of your energy where you think it's going to matter the most. But I still say engage in federal elections also, just to put the effort in to move the bar a little bit, because your vote does matter. And I know a lot of people don't think it does. It does. But we have to stop taking our democracy for granted, because as we see, it's in danger right now by an authoritarian madman. And it does matter who we vote for. And there is a difference between the two parties. Republicans are showing they're far worse. All right. But it's not just the parties. It matters who the parties nominate. It does make a difference. We're learning that, how much power presidents really do have. Too much power. Too much power. A lot of times they choose not to use it the way we want them to, though. So when a president says, I can't do this because of X, Y, and Z, it's because they don't have the will to do it. They never wanted to do it. They just wanted to use that message for you to vote for them. And congratulations, it works. It's called retail politics. So all the presidents prior to Trump did not want to transform this system. They never wanted to. And that's been my gripe about the modern establishment Democratic Party. Because whenever we voted for Democratic presidents, they did very little to move the bar. They did very little. They did do some good things, but they did very little about using their power to do good for the people. Okay, even though they talk of doing such. All right. And in some aspects, even Republican presidents promised a bill of goods on certain things and didn't do it. Okay? Because they didn't have it in their will to do it. They were part of the system, for the system, by the system. So they were willing to go right along with what the system wanted. This time, though, and what I mean by it matters who we vote for, it matters who parties nominate. Like I said before, I don't believe that all Republicans and Donald Trump are the same. I said this before out of animosity and dislike of the Republican Party. And I fully own what I said there. But here's the thing. Yes, I believe their governing philosophy is similar to Trump. Yes, they still support deregulation. They still support tax breaks for the rich. They still want to control the judiciary system. Yes, they want all that. The difference is the character and approach. I don't think every Republican would have sent ICE agents to the streets to go after citizens. I don't think every Republican would have willfully broke the law and said they don't care what the judges say. I don't think every Republican would have done exactly what Donald Trump did. I think they would have governed in such a light to steer the agenda to the right. But I don't think they would have done things the same way Trump did it. And that's why I say it does matter who the parties nominate too. They effectively nominated an angry, aging, stubborn, fragile, egoed, narcissist man who was born with a silver spoon in his mouth. And that's Donald Trump. He feels like he's entitled to do whatever he wants, when he wants, whenever he wants. And he has no sense of restraint whatsoever. Because life has shown him and taught him he can have whatever he wants because of who he is. That's the kind of person we have sitting in the White House right now. And he deliberately hired people that were willfully disqualified from their positions to tell him exactly what he wanted to hear. And that's exactly what's going on. He's the kind of guy that will never accept constructive criticism from anybody, which is not healthy in any president, by the way, I want to remind you, not healthy in any leader of the free world. That is problematic, because that means this guy will never take any constructive advice to change course in this country. And I don't know about you, but don't we all go through life have to accept constructive criticism to better ourselves? Constructive criticism is not a bad thing. We have to set our ego aside sometimes as a person to better ourselves and listen to what other people have to say and learn from that. Okay? Because we don't always know it all. Well, Trump's the kind of guy who thinks he knows it all the time. He thinks he's the most intelligent person in the world. Well, we see the results of that. A man who thinks he's smarter than everybody else. Right. And you see his lack of intellect. You explain to me how that's working out. And that's the thing. Again, I, as anybody else, is as frustrated about the stagnation of progress in this country. I was frustrated about past presidents not using their power the way they could to make our lives better. And I know progress in this country is slow, and I know they have to go through checks and balances in power, and I know sometimes courts and members of Congress stop them.